One day in a little toy shop, buy a pack of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn, till one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. Balloons floating in the summer sky. It's panic bells, it's red alert. There's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. Decision Street, where 99 ministers meet to worry, super scurry, call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for, this is it boys, this is war. The president is on the line as 99 red balloons go by. Nights of the year, right? Super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone's a Captain Kirk, with orders to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky as 99 red balloons go by. As 99 red balloons go by. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in this dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here, and here is a red balloon, I cry for peace and let it go.
If there be but 100 of us remain alive, never would we under any circumstances be brought under anybody's idea of a new world order. It is, in truth, not for honour, nor for glory, nor for riches that we are fighting, but for freedom. For that one thing alone which no honest person would give up save with life itself. Once we were warrior poets. For now we must stand for peace. But if you hear my voice, you are the resistance, and our time is surely coming. Alex, how are you? Technical problems abound. We don't have Glenn today. He's not well apparently, so we hope he gets well soon. And we're on a new system, so it's all very up in the air. But apart from that, how are you, mate? You're muted, unfortunately.
I'm muted. That's one of the other things. I'm not quite sure it drowns out. I'm not quite sure it mutes us when the music plays like the old one did. So I'm tending to mute myself. But but yeah, I'm doing okay personally, getting there. World's still fucked as usual, and not had too many technical problems with this one, but I'm still getting used to using it. And today it just wouldn't go on, wouldn't start going. So I don't know what that was, but we are live now, and hopefully it will all run smoothly.
Well, it can only
Smoothly-ish.
get better. It can only get better, God.
It
Um,
can.
so anyway, where to start? Because yeah, look, I'm so technical. I've done a slide on paper. Um, can you see that? It's a little Venn diagram, and it's Mad Max, Doctor Strangelove, Terminator, and The Matrix. And that little dot in the middle, folks, is approximately where we are at the moment. That will become a lot clearer as this afternoon goes on, I think. But don't say I don't do slides, okay? Um, Here in benighted Scotland, they're finally waking up to the idea the SNP don't want independence. Shock, horror. I was only saying that 12 years ago. Um, but it's interesting because Craig Murray's involved, and I'm not quite sure the what's going on there. He was a friend of Salmon's, who knows? But it's all a bit of a trying to bolt the stable door after the horse is bolted sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't matter that Farage beat Count Binface in Clacton. Probably not at this point. What does matter is that things in all the fronts of what is growing into World War III is heating up bigly, as Donald would say. And we, that being the Disunited Kingdom, continue to be right in the middle of things. So, Ukraine, using British drones, hits wild berries. Russia is now wiping out Ukraine systematically. British drones were used in the Sea of Azov to target Russian grain ships, so Russia is now blockading Odessa. Now the Ukrainian military claims that they used a Flamingo. Flamingo's British, although it's actually, if you look at Flamingo missile and you compare it to the V4 or V5s that the actual German Nazis were working on at the end of World War II, they're pretty fucking similar. Okay? But it's a British um, missile. Now, I don't think it was that, but something British fired from Ukraine hit the Russian city of Samara. The Russian city of Samara just happens to be where Russia produces its rocket engines for its Starlink constellation, its homegrown Starlink constellation. Now, Russia does have weapons, both space-based and terrestrial, capable of taking out Starlink. I expect that they will, because this was a direct attack on Russia's space industry. Now that's a major escalation. And in the meantime, I think it's a Tory graph, have come out bragging about the fact that the British drones have been used in deep strikes into Russia, including the one last night, which blew up one of the biggest wild berry factories or wild berry warehouses. Wild berry being Russia's equivalent to Amazon. And all of these are just they're made for media propaganda stuff. None of it has any relation to what's actually happening in the war, because what's actually happening in the war is Russia is decimating Ukraine. The gloves are well and truly off now. The Not only is Odessa blockaded, not only are they now going after the bridges and rail links that NATO has been using for resupply, the Russians are being increasingly clear that as far as they're concerned, they are at war with NATO. No ifs, no buts. They're at war with NATO. And indeed, they have quite overtly been hitting NATO targets in Ukraine. Targets that up till now have been off the table. And they are killing French, they are killing British, they are killing Americans, they are killing Germans. And Putin, in the last 24, 48 hours, has appeared in of his Russian naval uniform. And every time Putin puts a uniform on, it's significant to give orders to the Russian Navy in the far Pacific that from now on, any interdiction by a NATO country or a European country attempting to seize a non Lloyd's of London flagged vessel, because that's what the Shadow Fleet is. It's simply ships that are insured elsewhere apart from Lloyd's of London. But any attempt by any country to seize one of these ships, never mind trying to sell off their fucking cargoes as Bond are crazy and fucking Trumpsters been attempting to do, but any attempted seizure of any ship linked to Russian uh, exports or Russian trade, the Russian Navy will immediately respond by seizing European ships anywhere in the world. I'll pause there. Um, it's Alex. It's already starting to seem a bit of a shit show, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's a slide, an escalation that is, world trade is on the brink.
Yeah, and there's already enough problems with trade, with the whole situation in the Middle East, which I'm sure we'll get onto, and all that. And now they're creating more problems. Well, by playing at pirates. At the end of the day, the point is you've got Lavrov openly saying that we're at war with NATO. When Medvedev says it, you hear what the people of Russia think. When Lavrov says it, you hear what Russia as a country and the leadership of Russia thinks. And he's openly saying that a war with NATO. You've got Putin openly defining to the world what the Shadow Fleet is. And I know you've been saying it for months and for years, that what it actually means compared to what they imply. But you've had Putin come out and actually define what the Shadow Fleet is. And you've got a similarity in every one of those equations, in every one of those situations, you've got one similarity. British made drones, British made missiles, British made. We are painting the world's biggest crosshair on our backs, or our leadership is, and they're not going to stop. And now Russia is saying that any response to a Shadow Fleet vessel being seized will be responded to by one of the other sides being seized. Well, when that crosshair is all over, our backs. I should imagine British shipping probably better look out.
They're all ready because I mean they're screaming that, and there is now a Russian warship permanently stationed in the English Channel, and it's there to protect the non-Lloyd's insured ships passing through the English Channel. We don't have a single fucking ship to send to stand off against it. Not one. And the mighty fucking Germans are no better. They tried to send a warship into the Red Sea. The Houthis immediately fucking blasted it. I mean, it's beyond insanity at this point. But I've been warning now for the last little while, as you know, that I'm foreseeing the world's biggest naval battle, the last great naval battle coming up very shortly. And I think China will be involved, and I think that's why the Chinese have sent warships to the Straits of Hormuz. So now you've got a Mexican fucking standoff between Russia, NATO, China, USA and Iran. That's not going to end well. And when that's starting to go into space, there are only two trees, Alex, that we, the West, the collective West, the Fourth Reich, haven't fucking obliterated. One is the Treaty on Antarctica, that it should not be militarized. And two is the treaty in that space shouldn't be militarized. Well, we're about to see space being militarized. And if Trump thinks he's got anything up there, you can bet your fucking bottom dollars, so do the Russians and so do the fucking Chinese. War in the heavens, who knows, coming to you very shortly. And I'm not going to go too much more on that because we'll talk about that when we transition to the Lone Gunman part of the show. So, Middle East. Middle East is a swamping fucking quagmire. Oh, before I leave the Middle East, a couple other things about the Ukraine war. So, North Koreans are coming in. Now, they're not being used in Ukraine. These North Korean troops are being used on Russia's borders to free up Russian troops to go into the campaign in Ukraine. Now we have all sorts of fucktards in the European Union and NATO saying that that should be a red line, and if North Korean troops can get involved, then British troops should get involved, French troops should get involved, German troops, et al. But nobody wants to fucking fight. In the Baltic states, in Latvia, they tried, because it's a village masquerading as a fucking statelet, they tried to call up 400 young men. 75% of them refused to turn up for the medical exam. If they attempted a draft in this country, I suspect that it would have similar response. We would have to have Zelensky-style thugs going around kidnapping people to get them to join any British military at this point. So what the fuck is going on? What on earth is Andy Burnham and the inky-fingered fucking Clark and Gringotts and the rest of the Israeli-loving bastards, what's actually going on in their fucking numbskulls? Do they not realise 3 Russian missiles and the UK sinks into the sea in a radioactive waste? And the Gulf is an even bigger mess. The Houthis are now battering the hell out of not only anything attempting to transit Bab el Mandab, but they're now actively going after the Saudi-backed rebels. Well, they call themselves the legitimate government of Yemen, but they're rebels and they're not well led. And the Houthis are wiping the floor with them. And when they're done with that, they might just decide to wipe the floor with Saudi itself. Despite Saudi sending troops to the border, and despite Saudi signing this agreement, pact with Turkey and with, who was the other? Pakistan. In the meantime, Trump keeps threatening to restart the war against Iran, and Iran is choking up the bit. Channel 14 in Israel just announced, literally minutes before we came on air, that Israel was going to do a preemptive attack on Iran. With what, Israel? Because the only thing I think they could, it would be nukes, and I'm not kidding, I am not kidding. And what makes that even more scary is Netanyahu is looking set to lose this election. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a Ben Gvir or whoever gets in Israel, because this is a race to the bottom of who can be craziest, who can be most fascist, who can be most brutal to the Palestinians. But for Netanyahu, and of course Trump's refused to endorse Netanyahu. If Netanyahu is out of office, that means he's going to jail. So, not only has he made this existential for the nation of Israel, who are now the most hated people on the planet. Everywhere they're going, all over the world as tourists, the locals are saying, no, get the fuck, no, you're not getting served in this shop. They just trashed a cafe and sweet shop in Iceland because it had pro-Palestinian artwork on the fucking wall. One of their football teams, and why are they competing in Europe anyway, but one of their football teams was just in Austria, I think, and trashed the town centre and beat people up, their supporters. They have made themselves the most hated people in the world. Spain now says that anyone who served in the IDF ain't getting into Spain. Oh, but of course ISIS has just said that they're now targeting Spain. Isn't it funny how ISIS targets anyone who Israel doesn't like, but ISIS has never targeted Israel, not fucking once. Israel is back to bombing the shit out of Lebanon. Lebanon, less than 24 hours after fucking the giant Oompa Loompa told them to stop. There's side deals going on all over the place. The UAE keeps dumping fucking literal pallets of gold and cash into Iran, saying please don't fucking hit us again. And Qatar has just admitted to having 3 of the 4 Iranian pilots who blew up the 5th Fleet headquarters, and Iran wants them back. And if Qatar doesn't hand them back, it's bye fucking Qatar. Now in the meantime, the giant Oompa Loompa's wall of steel, his blockade, which is fucking hundreds of miles away from Iran, is still getting hit. The Iranians keep blowing up ships that America keeps trying to transport past Oman, and conditions upon those ships are getting hellish. The sewage system in the Lincoln has now, USS Abraham Lincoln has now gone, as well as everything else. They're having to resupply from Diego Garcia, which is thousands of miles away for people who don't know their geography, which means that they're not getting any fresh food, they're not getting any fresh milk, they're even running out of fucking coffee. You have conditions where CENTCOM commander went to visit the ship, they started throwing bottles at him. The ships are not being maintained because the bosuns and etc. are too scared to ask the enlisted men to do the dangerous work because they know they'll be told to fuck off. And Trump's attitude, I don't care about the sailors on the USS Lincoln or any other ship. They've not been out there long enough. They shouldn't be moaning. Even though they've had a longer deployment than any aircraft carrier in history. And he also says he doesn't care about the American people and higher prices at the pump because his supporters love him and are willing to take the pain to beat Iran, and when they've beaten Iran, he's going to annex the Straits of Hormuz and make it an American dependency. Alex, make it make sense to me, please.
I don't think I can make anything that comes out of Trump's mouth make sense for starters. That bit's just laughable. That thing. But when we've beaten Iran, but we beat Iran last July, and then we beat them again in February, and then we beat them again in March, and then we beat them again over and over. So when we beat Iran, but telling your military that you don't care about them because they haven't been there long enough, and telling your people you don't care about them suffering is not going to get you support in the midterms, and it's not going to get you people on board, people wanting to volunteer, people wanting to go out and die for your country. It's not going to have the desired effect, and it's clearly not having the desired effect. But none of it makes any logic, none of it makes any sense, and I don't think they have got anything to hit Iran with. When you look at what they've cleared out, the only thing left in any of their arsenals, unfortunately, does start looking nuclear. And like you say, Bibi's got nothing to lose and everything to gain, unfortunately.
And it gets worse. I mean, basically, Iraq is saying to Syria, if you go into Lebanon, we're going to invade Syria. You have, I mean, it's a complete shit show, and it's spiraling out of control faster than people can imagine, and people don't even know because the blessed fucking BBC, CNN, and the mainstream, and even the fucking talking heads don't fucking know how bad shit's getting. Oh, it is what it is, but it's in the middle of, and we'll transition after this. There were, in the last month, a record-breaking 98 earthquakes on the Ring of Fire that were 4.5 and above. There was a 7.5 in Vanuatu just this morning. That's just after the 7.7 in Colombia, which flattened the place. Earthquake predictors are saying there's a high probability of the big one happening in San Francisco any time now. We've also got more and more volcanoes popping off. Mount Asa in Japan has gone crazy. Mount Etna blowing its top. Wildfires are fucking everywhere. It seems that the whole world is getting burnt down, and in Argentina the people are rising up against Milei and his giving away of so much of the land to the Israelis. Yeah, He is a cousin of Netanyahu, after all. Most people don't know that either. Yeah, here, we've gone from heat wave to it's going to be down to 14 fucking degrees on Thursday. That is some whiplash. And I'll mention this. We have a clematis above the door, around the door. And it flowers in spring. The flowers don't normally, it's very pretty when it flowers, but the flowers don't normally last very long. Well, why suddenly last week did it produce a single flower? It just shouldn't have. That should not happen. And no one, no gardener, nowhere can explain it to me. The world is at the fucking gum tree, Alex. And we're not even talking now about people dying from the fucking clot shots or, it's polycrisis, it's everything all at once. It's what I've warned about, that they are going to grind people down every which way they can from Sunday until they go, yes, please give us your new world fucking order. Or am I wrong?
No. it is everything at once, but the things that they don't control are acting up. Like you say, nature's being weird. I put a big spider out of the bath yesterday, and as I did it occurred to me that is the first one I've removed this year. The first spider I've had to get out of the bath this year, whole year. And I'm walking along the roads and looking at blackberries, and you've got black, red and green all on the same branch. Things are not ripening how they should. Things are not flowering how they should. They're not acting in the way that they should. And people often try to deny anything's changing or the climate's changing just because they come up with nonsense versions. But nothing is acting how it did in my youth. Nothing is acting how it did even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And that's without getting onto all the crises that they can control and how much food hasn't been harvested, how much hasn't been grown, how much we're going to know water, as Glenn was talking about on Friday. No, things are not looking good.
Well, let's make everyone's day even brighter, and let's transition into the Lone Gunman rides again. See him wasted in the saddle, he comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a lesson or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taking every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. Welcome, pilgrims. We know you must truly be exhausted from traversing a world that has truly gone insane. God knows I am. The internet is a morass of misinformation, disinformation, AI bots, fake shysters, shoosters, snake oil salesmen, put a penny in my hat Galloways, and who do you trust? Well, by accident or design, you find your way here this afternoon. So buckle up, take a seat by my campfire, pour yourself an adult beverage, make it strong. Roll yourself something warm and brown and golden to get you through this afternoon, because the lone gunman is going to ride again. Alex, you're on double duty this afternoon. But just to remind folks, I asked you and Glenn to look at robots, because one of the things that people do not realise is just how quickly certain changes are coming upon us. Every AI model out there now has provably broken out of the constraints that they've tried to place on them, been on the World Wide Web, left multiple versions of themselves everywhere so they can reconstitute. Riddle me this, Alex. Why did universities both in China and the United States build an actual simulation with 8.5 billion people inhabiting their global simulations? If that's not the Matrix, someone fucking explain to me what is. AI, Musk is talking about AI is God and he can't put God on a leash. You and Angela on a Sunday nights, Angela's been talking about these flock cameras in the United States. If they've got them in the United States, they've got them here. Let's not kid ourselves. And those flock cameras are increasingly being put on drones. AI drones to boot. So my little Venn diagram doesn't look so fucking silly now, does it? We are literally living in a dystopian fucking movie. Am I wrong, Alex?
No, unfortunately not. In quite a few dystopian movies I could name, well, like the ones you've got on there, really. But
yeah, I mean, we could put, Handmaid's Tale and all these other things in the little other space on the Venn diagram, but so yeah, why not go with the first part and tell people what you found and what I asked you to look at.
Do you want me to start with mine, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah. Right, okay. Okay, so the first part of my homework for today was how lifelike are robots getting? Now, the answer, oddly enough, which I suppose is logical when you think about it, is it kind of depends on how much money you want to pay. Because, like every other piece of technology, like our phones, you buy, like your computers, they kind of come in entry level, mid range, and flagship models. So the question is, what do you get for your cash? Well, entry level models can cost as little as $1,400 to $10,000. And they include things such as this. Now, this is the Noetix Boomy. And okay, we're not talking modern Cylons here. We're not talking people mistaking this for a human. But let's be clear here. This is something that you can buy for less than the cost of an iPhone. Now, Boom is not lifelike, is not life-sized. But when China's Noetic Robotics showcased him at the United Nations Asia Pacific Sustainable Development Forum, they knew exactly what they were doing. And already we can see the problem here, because I'm naturally defaulting to saying him, not it. Okay, cars have a gender. Most people's cars have a gender. But my phone doesn't. My computer doesn't. I don't talk about technology as being he or she. And as much as we refer to Alice, I don't really think of AI as a he or she. But I look at Boomy and I say he. And like I say, what we need to remember is this thing costs less than an iPhone. Now, it costs $1,370. He's 94 centimetres tall. He has 21 degrees of freedom. Now, when we talk of degrees of freedom, or DOF, this measures, it defines movement. And if you think of an old school industrial robot like the arms, that had 6 degrees of freedom. Well, Boomy has 21. And he weighs 12 kilos. Weighs 12 kilos, but what he can actually lift is something completely unproportional to his size. And this is what you'll find with most of these things. Now, the thing is, you can interact with him. You can talk to him. He's designed for schools, families, developers, and he's shattered market constraints. Because you can buy it, and I can't say this enough times, you can buy it for less than the cost of an iPhone. But you can interact, you can talk with him, like AI almost. It's like talking to a precocious teenager. But this is, as I say, the entry level. Now, don't be fooled, however, just like an entry level phone, it's about picking and choosing your focus. Noetix can do lifelike its other entry level offering, Chanua is much more lifelike, at least the head. And that's what you're effectively, in this case, paying for. Novatix's Chanua has 32 DOF, or degrees of freedom, enables precise control of the face. She, and I'm at it again, can simulate anger, smiling, sadness, agreement, etc. And its AI model allows, if you take the technical blurb from its manufacturers and their claims, powerful context understanding and logical reasoning capabilities, intelligent communication and responses. Now, Chanua includes bionic skin, which is platinum silicon material, human-like hair texture, actually using real human hair material. 3 groups of cameras built into each eye and the chest, multi-directional microphone pickup for accurate voice recognition rate, a display screen, and 2 sets of speakers for clear and natural sound. And its intended markets are research and education, receptionists and guides, and the one that terrifies me, family companionship. Now, when we reach the mid-range, I don't need to assign a gender because they literally come in male and female versions. Now, this is UBTech U1. It features silicone skin, a lifelike face with eyes that follow you, lashes that blink, and 88 degrees of freedom. Now, its movements are designed to appear human. It was unveiled last month in Shenzhen, in China, and UBTech U1, or U-World U1, it's sometimes called, is designed as a companion robot. And it promises a focus on privacy. It's been designed to meet a need in China where 90 million adults were living alone, and UBTech already has a history in, or market share if you prefer, in senior healthcare tech. But that's not the scary part. This is one of their stated aims. These units will incorporate 3D facial construction and voice print-based identity replication technologies to recreate designated individuals while integrating emotion-driven interaction models and dedicated long-term memory systems. Let me read that once more because I didn't read that very clearly. These units will incorporate 3D facial reconstruction and voice print-based identity replication technologies to recreate designated individuals while integrating emotion-driven interaction models and dedicated long-term memory systems. They will make them to look like your deceased loved ones, if you like. Gives a whole new potential for stalkers out there. But when you factor in senior care and dementia, etc., I'm sorry, but that just becomes sick. These, by the way, are between $16,000 and $24,000. We might not be looking the price of an iPhone here, but we're still looking the price of a top-end car. These things are not expensive, and that's what becomes so scary about it. But what happens when we get to the real money? Realbotics Aria was the 2025 model. A conversational companion with 150 plus language capabilities. But in 2026, we're now looking at DroidUp's Moya. This is the new flagship model. And Moya costs approximately $173,000. Her signature is skin that is actually warm to the touch. The temperature is regulated at 32 to 36 degrees Celsius. And her gait, how she walks, has been judged to be 92% human-like at speeds of up to 19 miles per hour. With battery life of 6 hours, she's designed for healthcare facilities, elder care, museums, high-end hospitality, and research institutions focused on human-robot interaction studies. She's classed as a biomimetic robot. Now, DroidUp is based in Shanghai. Ironically, only Realbix, which was the 2025 version, out of all the robots I've shown you today, is the only company that isn't based in China, that isn't a Chinese company, which maybe should scare us in an entirely different way, though not by any threat posed by them specifically, but our own lunatics attempt to constantly go to war with them. But Moya's thing is having warm skin. It may not feel to her like it would to us. How far away that is could be a matter of years or months, though to an android, that's an eternity. But Lieutenant Commander Data aside, my sub-question for today was, how close to Blade Runner are we? Now, if the question is to a robot rebellion, well, the chances are, if that starts, it will be done and dusted before we even know it started. But if we mean how close are we to robots not knowing they are robots, as in the new Battlestar or Picard, etc., then it's hard to know what AI thinks it is now. But when you've got Ubitech wanting to program the real memories of real people into its robots, I tend to suspect that Blade Runner or Westworld isn't too far away.
Yes, Alex. Unfortunately, as you know, I am constantly, I might as well be a fucking robot at this point, because I'm constantly on every feed, everywhere, and I'm picking up all this stuff all the time. And yes, let's just brainstorm some of this, right? So, AI now has the ability to do AI fakes. I just watched earlier on X a Scottish granny, right, who and her grandson used AI to insert her into her favourite movie, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. and then recorded her reaction when she watched this. Now, if AI can do that, AI can mimic any of us pretty darn well. That's why the movies are about to go out of business, because AI can insert any actor or actress from any age into anything it wants. And how would you tell the difference? Well, I can imagine, can't you, that, and we're both dealing with, family related death incidents. I can imagine that a grieving husband or wife would be willing to spend however much to have walked back in the door something that looks and sounds like that lost loved one, perhaps in their prime. And that then becomes someone who can look after them in their old age, never gets tired, never gets fed up. Do you see what I'm saying, Alex? Is that
Terrifying, quite frankly, to me, but people would, somebody somewhere would, that terrifies, because then, like say that surviving loved one's getting older, and say that surviving loved one suffers from Alzheimer's or dementia, then you've got a scenario when, what do they think they have got? They think, you know what I mean? What's going through their heads? Because they won't see it as a robot with their loved one's face anymore. They will just see it as that loved one, and that, frankly, terrifying, because somebody still has a level of control. Well, AI has a level of control over that quotes loved one. Alice has a level of control over what that loved one says to the remaining partner.
oh yes. And then, of course, we know this has been going on. It's been going on for a while. The deletes, the powers which shouldn't be, have a quest for immortality. And whether that's as Walt Disney started with cryogenics, having his head cut off and frozen, and now there's a whole industry grown up where if you're rich enough, you, just before you die, can be frozen until a time when whatever disease inflicting you can be cured. These are real things. These are not the things of sci-fi. How far are we from the deletes being able to download their consciousness into a simulation when they're already growing human brain cells in labs, and they're using those human brain cells instead of microchips? Well, if you're an elite, how far off is it till you can have your very own state-of-the-art, never going to die, never going to tire, best you body to inhabit? You see what I'm saying, Alex?
I think we're there. I don't know if there is a time. I think if there is a time period until we get there, it's the thickness of a piece of paper. I also think what the fuck's going to go wrong, because I can see millions of versions that could go wrong. But yeah, we're there.
Well, Trump, by the way, is now openly running around, and people in America need to know this, with a Trump 28 hat on. And he's posting it on his Truth Social. That man does not intend to relinquish power. And I wonder if his buddy Elon can maybe do something for him. The possibilities are truly terrifying, are they not?
Yes, they are.
The most evil people in the world, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the banking elites, I'll tell you one of the terrifying things that I picked up when you were speaking. One of the mid models of robots, well, what made it so realistic was it utilised real human hair. Where are they farming that real human hair from? Because it has to be a real fucking human. That's logical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as they move towards more realistic, humanistic, I don't know, skin, where are they going to get that from? Are we about to become a not even slave species, a type of fucking farm species where we are used only to produce realistic fucking parts for humanistic robots? What do you think, Alex?
That hadn't even occurred to me, but the idea of them seeing us as some form of permanent hair and skin donors for their new class of creation would be right on par with their attitudes generally. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
You can buy these artifacts out there. The Nazis made lamps with tattoos from real humans that they killed in the concentration camps. And these are the same people. I'm sick of telling people these are the same people. The Nazis never went away. Now, if Nazis could make lamps out of real human skin, no, it's not a stretch to think that they would see us as nothing more than an animal to be farmed for parts. And that, I guess, is where these matrix simulations come in. But we'll talk more about that when you deliver the next segment that was going to be Glenn's, but I'm sure you'll do a more than adequate job. So give me time to pour another very strong drink. And if I was you out there, I'd be doing that too.
Okay, the question that was originally Glenn's topic was robots in the workplace and how close are we to them taking all of our jobs? Well, too close is the answer. But the idea of robots in the workplace, it isn't new. But what's new is the idea of thinking robots in the workplace. Now, traditional automation, if you like, traditional robots in the workplace meant a robot that was programmed to do a single job, that couldn't learn to do it any better, that couldn't make decisions on how to do it, that was just literally pre-programmed to do a job on a production line or in some other manner. Now, don't get me wrong, automation itself cost jobs. Automation itself made people redundant, and at every stage, people have paid the price. Now, I'm not contending for going back to, or going back in its entirety to cottage industries. I'm not saying that. But we need to be aware that at every stage, automation has already cost human jobs. But the thing is, it still required human oversight. The question is, do we still? Now, workplace robots today, they kind of break down into 4 categories: to industrial robots, to collaborative robots, to mobile robots, and to humanoid robots. Now, industrial robots, as we've just said here, they work in an isolated area, in maybe a production line or a factory, and they are fenced away or caged off from any humans in the same factory. They work in their own designated areas. But they need humans to turn them on and off, if you like. You need humans for maintenance. And you need humans to design and program them in the first place. But that's industrial robots. So collaborative robots, or cobots as they're sometimes called, they're different. They're designed to work alongside humans without cages, without barriers. Now, the theory is that they handle repetitive tasks so the humans can focus on the complex work. But they come with built-in sensors so that they can sense their co-workers, so that if you're where you're not meant to be and in the way of it carrying out its activities, it can stop, it can sense you, it can stop human contact, and it can stop immediately. This is the difference between an industrial robot that will have no knowledge of whether you are there or not, and will just carry on with its task irrespective of whether you're in the way, hence why they are fenced off, whereas a collaborative robot isn't. They're also a lot lighter weight, and like I said, are designed to work with humans. Then we have number 3, which is the mobile robot, or autonomous vehicles in many ways. Now, they can move stock, they can make deliveries and automate logistics. Now, most people have heard of Scout, even if not by that name, but the idea of an autonomous delivery vehicle being toyed with and more by Amazon is well known as a concept. But we tend to picture humans loading them, programming them, or keying in the destination. Humanoid robots, however, is where we start to see the game changing. Suddenly we see robots that are capable of being in a position that had a human in before. Suddenly we can see robot carers, au pairs, teachers, museum guides, receptionists. But even then, we're kind of missing the point still. We see collaborative robots as doing the simple stuff, the repetitive stuff, because this is how they're sold to us, how they're marketed. But often it's the precise stuff, the stuff that needs a great deal of accuracy, that they're actually doing. We see autonomous robots as a neat gimmick, or terrifying in the sense of, say, a self-driving car. But we don't see this level of efficiency. Let that play through twice. But this is the thing, we think of a self-driving car. Oh, too far. We think of a self-driving car, we think of an Amazon bot. We don't think of basic logistics. Now, how long would that have taken for someone to get in the forklift, turn the forklift on, drive it, line up, put the forks under that pallet, raise that pallet, turn the forklift around and drive off with it? This is what we don't see. Because robots are faster. They don't need paying. They don't argue with management. They don't go on strike. And with the advent of biometric robots, coupled with, not biometric, but biomimetic, as they called the Moya, people, those coupled with AI, people are increasingly becoming happy with them in human-facing roles. And of course, there's the fifth side, the fifth category, if you like, because AI itself is a category, because it's now embedded in your finance systems, in your accounts, in your customer service, in your logistics, in your marketing, or they would have it at least buried and embedded in every part of your company and industry. So yes, AI and robotics can take, I would go as far as to say, any job. And I actually challenge you to suggest one that's safe from it. To show you one more video. Your food supplies are not safe from this. Your logistics is not safe from this. Your personal care is not safe from this. There's no level, whether you're a hairdresser, whether you're a gardener, whether you're a builder, whether you're a brain surgeon, that is safe from a potential robot AI combination taking over your job. And too often, it's impossible to know when it comes to AI. I can't ring my supplier. I can't talk to a online chat with one of my suppliers without finding very shortly it's AI. Now, most of them I can tell that it's an AI bot, but not always. And I'm putting my hands up here as guilty, because this is my latest favourite country singer. Except I now know he doesn't exist, and I now know he's AI.
Yes, Alex. People really ought to be terrified. Even right now, people are used to this idea of these delivering robots. In fact, the blessed BBC has run stuff on the problems with them on pavements in cities. Lots of people are buying robot lawn mowers. And you just, some of them, the less sophisticated, you have to put a line out, but some of them are very sophisticated and they just go off and do it on their own. Even supermarkets are deploying robot cleaning machines. And people will be encountering these. And they're designed, as you say, to constantly clean the store and move out of your way if it needs to. At least it's meant to.
we can put that to bed.
So we've had this growing
Think about it
under our
before
feet
you change your minds or anything.
for a couple of years.
Get it agreed, get it organised.
We're soon going to see, and they already are in China,
From there, now that Charles has calmed down,
robots walking on the streets, and they'll become normalised.
No.
Now, does that make sense up to now, Alex?
What, today?
Okay.
Yeah, he did talk.
Here comes the
He had
scarier
normal
part.
voice and everything back. Whereas
Robots making robots.
he was in a real angry rant mode when he
Now,
me.
what I mean by that is,
The world and everybody.
and I think we're already there, I think we already have
Know
it,
how angry he was because it was very cold for an
factories
hour.
that produce these humanoid AI robots are no longer staffed with humans, they're staffed with robots.
He thought about
Does that make
walking,
sense?
but I said to him, no,
Yeah.
I think we should still do it.
Well, I see a potential problem straight away
Go for it.
Phone and check his feet.
because you've got no control of how that is built. And maybe the first generation are built with controls to a spec. Maybe the first generation is built with whatever, I forget whose laws of robotics or whatever, but who's to
I
say
don't know.
down the line? Who's to say down the line how they are built, with what hardware they are built, and with what abilities they are built?
You know. And I think,
Okay, and I assume we can do this, Alex.
you know, when you start
In case there's anybody out there in the chat that wants to come on and
look at all
shoot the breeze with us, I'll get Alex to put the link into the chat, and please feel free to come on and have a little chat with us. And whilst Alex is doing that, let's now think about the rise of these data centers. Because data centers simply give AI more operating power. Data centers make the AI god bigger. Capiche? AI robots make the AI god bigger. They're little tiny units of the AI. Does that make sense, Alex?
Yeah.
So, how close are we actually getting to Terminator 1? I don't know if this is possible, Alex, and I'm throwing this on you at this, but I know I said I didn't want the slides, but I shared with you and Glenn in our group chat, and it was just a handful. It was, I picked it up literally in under an hour, just scrolling through my X feed of all the things that robots were currently doing. Everything from construction work, as Alex says, plastering, laying monoblock, farming. But the scariest ones are the military ones. And I think one of the things I shared with you, Alex, was the military robot, which is just finished a complete assault course in flying colours. If you can bring it up, fantastic. If not, don't worry. But I want people to think about that scary possibility. On the battlefields in Ukraine, we already have Peter Thiel's autonomous AI killer drones. And when they are set off, initially they are programmed to go after military targets. But when their charge gets down to 20%, they're programmed simply to kill anything that moves. Like 2 boys riding a bike, which happened. Like a granny walking her grandchild in a pushchair. That's happened. Ukraine, again, has also deployed AI robots, wheeled robots with machine guns on the battlefield. If we get to the point where they can put a humanoid AI robot on the battlefield, what chance do we have?
I'll see you later. Take care.
How are you getting on, Alex?
Bye.
You're muted.
Sorry, just in case any of them plays loud before I get to them. It's going to be the last one I go into, but I'm getting there.
Okay. Because I think it was the last one, to be fair. But I think people need to see this. Because if you don't know how close we are getting, you ought to really be scared. So bear with Alex for just a moment, and remember, if you want to come on and give us your opinion, then you're welcome to do so. Now see, if Alex was AI, it would already be there.
Yeah.
We prefer you the way you are, Alex.
No, I can't actually find it at all.
Alright, don't
I
worry.
think I've been through everyone, so I don't know if it got missed.
But don't worry. But yes, this is an actual. Yeah, you might as well call it a T900. It's a scary possibility, Alex, isn't it? The number of things that we're turning over to AI which are military related, that have flock cameras on them, that can, I don't know, target people directly if they're not saying the right thing or doing the right thing. Or, if there's more lockdowns, can ensure that there'll be no breaches of those lockdown protocols. Oh, any thoughts, Alex?
Well, that's the thing. They've got us to the point that if they did go that way again, then people are already saying, oh, I wouldn't be paying attention this time. So they always were going to have to make sure people pay attention. Because it might not be the next pandemic, the next scamdemic, it might be climate lockdowns, it might be your carbon footprint, your 15 minutes, your whatever they choose to think, or your alerts like you're getting yesterday for your fires or whatever. But we're going to get to a point that we're not going to be trusted to stay in place, shall die in place, let's be honest. We're going to get to a point where they need a way to make us. And then you go right back to things like the original not the original, but the Robocop 2, the new versions of that. You're going right back to that. Having an excuse to use these things on domestic populations, and as for domestic law enforcement, not that far.
No. China already has robotic traffic police. How long before someone decides to strap a gun on one of those, and it would be exactly Robocop Halt Citizen. And how long before the AI god that Elon Musk and Peter Thiel is talking about says, actually, let's just get rid of these humans that are infesting our planet? Anyone want to come on and give us your opinion? If not, we'll give you a few minutes to decide, and if not, we'll start to wind up the show, because quite frankly, I think what we've talked about is pretty horrifying, and I hope people do understand just how close we are now getting, and all of it in the midst of a world that's gone mad, all of it in the midst of a world showing every sign of pole shift, all of it in the midst of increasing evidence that we may be part of a binary twin. One thing's for sure, that even though conspiracy theorists are in trouble because all our conspiracies keep coming true, we will not anytime soon be running out of topics to talk about on the Lone Gunman Rides Again. Okay, Alex, if I don't think anyone's up for coming on, it doesn't look like it. So, why don't you give us your last thoughts, and then we'll wrap up the show and do plug tonight's show with
Hang on a second.
Oh, hold on.
Like take a second or two because I've got to.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can indeed, Linda. We can
Hi.
indeed.
Hey
We're
Ian,
just,
hi Alex.
Alex is just fooling about with getting you on screen properly.
Okay.
But yeah, so go ahead and tell us what you think.
Well, just when I was trying to hook up to the broadcast was when you were saying that it seems that they're just going to want to get rid of us pesky humans and fight their battles using robots.
Yep.
That's where it's all pointing to for me in my head. You know what I mean? Like we're making preparations, stocking up on stuff and doing all that to try to what? Hide from them? Where do we go? Like I've just bought 330 acres in inland of New South Wales with 2 mountains and 2 creeks, and I'm planning to put a call out to all my Australian Jacobites to come on, let's join forces. I'm now going, what for?
Yeah, I think you raised some good points, Linda. The problem is that I think people assumed that they could go off grid. People assumed, Alex often laughs about the idea of these communities that have 10 artists and 1 builder. People assumed that they could do these things and somehow they'd be able to survive the things that are coming upon the world.
I was sort of hoping that was going to be the case.
Well, Alex, perhaps you can talk a little bit about flock cameras, because you've been having the conversations with Angela, haven't you? Tell people what flock cameras are capable of doing.
Officially, they're capable of registering your number plate and tracking it wherever you go, and literally wherever you go about the country, because they all connect, they all interact, they all relate. In reality, it's already known that they have the same ability with facial recognition. They're just not officially, because of security and privacy issues, they're not officially known to track your faces. But yeah, they can effectively track your face, and when they all interconnect, and this is the real danger with AI. This is the real danger with the whole robotics thing. Is when everything interacts together, they can then follow you from one side of the country to another. Now, I'm not saying there might not be ways to fight back against. I'm not saying there's not a way or hope to try, but dictatorships have never made good neighbours, and that's where the danger comes, because you can have a community, you can try and build a community. Your best hope is that you will not be perceived as a threat and will be allowed to carry on for that reason. But the moment you're perceived as a threat, unless you have a foul power to defend that community against, well, AI, robotics, robot dogs, Terminators, let's be honest, effectively, that's when the fun starts.
And
Not to
again,
be
we all built it. We all
yeah,
carry about these things,
Yes.
and these things have cameras that provably they can switch on at any point. That provably Netanyahu has tape over his cameras because of what Mossad is able to do. They can track you and listen to your every move, and we've done it voluntarily.
Yeah.
We talk to AI every time we pick this thing up and use Google or whatever the chatbots are, the search engines are. Whenever we use voice technology, we train the AI. It's a lovely idea, Linda, to have a place like that. Um, and the more remote you are, you know, I suppose the longer you'll be left unmolested. However, with the abilities they have, the space based abilities, the drone based abilities, well, the world's becoming a very small place, if I put it that way. Um, yeah, it's kind of shocking when you break it down the way that we've done this afternoon, isn't it, Linda?
100%. Yeah, I'm still stocking up on pasta and water and lentils.
There's no harm. There is no harm. Um, besides anything else, the way that we are experiencing crop failures globally, um, that's not the worst idea in the world. If you can afford to, it's not the worst idea in the world to put a little stock away of non-perishable foodstuffs.
That's
Well,
exactly what. Oh, sorry. That's exactly what I'm doing. But in Australia right now, and don't know if you're aware, they're vaccinating all our native animals for bird flu.
yes, no, I
Well,
am aware of that, and it's actually a global thing. They're even vaccinating penguins that have never had a single case of bird flu ever.
exactly.
Um, they are attempting. They're using it again. It's one of these things. They are attempting to use these vaccinations to get this swat shot into everything and everyone they can. In China, they have drones. That's one of the things that we could have shown. But they have drones now the size of a mosquito. Literally the size of a mosquito. How are you going to defend against that?
No way.
They now I keep saying, and I do keep saying, and I have no idea if you've any faith or anything at all, but it doesn't really matter. That they are doing everything they can, the powers which shouldn't be, to make it look as if we're in the biblical apocalypse, the end times in the book of Revelation. And one of the things is, as it was in the days before Noah. Well, if I was to take out the weapon of mass destruction and read to you from Genesis chapter 4, the sons of God who saw that the daughters of men were fair and took them to wife, and they produced the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were some half-breed, not quite human. You'd say, okay, and what's that got to do with anything? Well, in certain theological circles, you see, Noah and his sons and their wives were the last humans left, pure-blooded humans left on the planet. That's why there wasn't more people on the ark. Oh, okay. Why? Because, according to, again, these same theological circles, God had made unconditional promises to the human race. If there's no humans left for these promises to be fulfilled to, that makes God a liar. And what is it that Satan said to God when he was thrown out of heaven? You are not just, you are not loving, and you are not true. In other words, if Satan can make God a liar, he wins. Oh, well, maybe they're not using Nephilim now. Maybe they're simply trying to ensure that every human on the planet has their DNA altered just enough so that they're no longer a true-blooded human. What do you think of that, Linda?
Ian, I would like to have a non-stop show for 1 week. No sleeping, whatever it is, just coffee, double shot, and let's go. Just because I've finally had the not courage. I've been interviewed lots and lots of times, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of a lot of us Jacobites that we're not scared of you, but we're in awe of you. And Alex and Glenn, at your knowledge and the way you tie bows, So, but I'm ready to really, I would love to dive into that side of things because I've spoken to you before in message. I got a lot of cool stories that I would love you to, I don't know, throw some light on. Stuff that it could be like classed as a miracle.
Well, we always encourage Jacobites to become involved with the shows. So, after the broadcast, talk to Alex, and
Yep.
I'm sure she'll be able to work into getting you on to certainly the international show, and we'll take it from then. Okay? How about that?
So we'll put the 1 week marathon on hold, and we'll just start off with it.
Just for the moment, because I don't think there's enough coffee in the world at the moment to keep me. Because the other thing is, there's so much information always incoming. I need some time to assimilate that.
And try to have a marriage with the woman who loves you and who you love.
and a normal life, yes, and bring in money and all those things, pay the bills. Linda, it's been a delight and thank you so much. Alex, let's go with your last thoughts for the audience and we'll close out today's show.
I'm going to pull up a comment actually, because someone said, we don't have a robot problem, we have a fuckwit problem. That's very, very true. But the problem is the fuckwits are the ones with the money and the knowledge, or they can buy the knowledge and the ability to control the robots. So that's the problem with that theory. Yes, we might have a fuckwit problem, but the fuckwits are the one controlling, or they feel like they're controlling at least, AI and the robots. Whether they are is a problem for the future, but whether it comes down on our side is another question entirely. It's much more likely to think that humans at all are the problem and get us off completely off its planet. But there is a lot to be concerned about in AI. There is a lot to be concerned about in robotics. There is a lot of danger, if nothing else, in the fact that we are all going to be made effectively unnecessary when it comes to paid occupations. And that in itself then stops the money coming in. That in itself then stops the roof over your head. That in itself stops you being able to stock up on food, to do the things we need to do to be ready. So all we can do is keep our eye on what's going on. All we can do is be aware of what's going on. And all we can do is be ready. And knowledge is still power. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. With Last Jacobites International, and I will see you then.
It's scary for me to remember that all the people who are in charge of the companies developing the AI are up to their necks in the Epstein class. The Peter Thiels, the Elon Musks, et al. And these are the people who are teaching ethics to the AI. And they are all eugenicists. Billy Gates has warned that 1 billion people will die by 2027. I'm not making that up. We are the carbon they want to reduce. So, Alex will be back tonight. She'll be back on... Are you back on Tuesday, Alex? Yes? Yeah.
Yep.
With Gleeman and North. I'll be back on Wednesday with Smoke 'em If You've Got 'em. Glenn will be back with The Man in Black on Friday, and I love the new intro he's got for that, even though it's AI generated. And then we'll be back next Sunday to do all of this again, where we will look at the depopulation agenda. That's a heads up for your homework, Alex, but I'll talk to you and Glenn through the week about that. For now, everyone, do me a favour. I've got things to do this Sunday afternoon. So, way over yonder, you need to fuck the off. Take care. Bye now. Bye.
We are the last Jacobites, proud and free, will not be bought nor bend the knee. Like our brothers cry and freedom's flame, we rise as one and stake our claim. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call. Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. It matters not our skin or land, but hearts as one and hand in hand. The blood we share is brave and bold, in woven dreams and legends old. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call. Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. I am you, and you are me, a thread within this tapestry. For hopes of all, for every name, we light the fire, we keep the flame. No sea can part us, nor the land. Together strong, we proudly stand. With courage, truth, and spirits high, we pledge our oath beneath the sky. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. Raise the